Good afternoon. Myself is Napum Jhanvi. Today's my topic is Wilfred Owen as a war poet. This is my personal details. This is a quote about the Wilfred Owen. I am not conveyed with her poetry. My subject is war, and the pity of the war. The poetry is in the pit. Yet there's elegies are the generation is no sense. No sense on the voluntary, they may be to the next. All the poet can be can to today is one. That is a why the true poets must be truthful. Wilfred Owen the Wilfred Edward Stellier Owen is the born in the 8 March 1893. He's the eldest of the four children. Was born in Olvestia, Shropshire, where his the father was working in railway clerk. The family soon had to move Blickenhead and Wilfred was the educated at the independent Blickenhead Institute until 1907. When his father was appointed to a senior post, Shrewsbury, Wilfred took the 4 years free course as a pupil teacher. His Shrewsbury Technical School, yielding not only a good grounding in a French, English literature, the earth science and other subjects, but also experience of teaching children from a very poor homes. The studying of Wordsworth and the kids made him long to be a poet, and he started writing various. He is qualified as the elementary school teachers, but the career of prospect were poor, so he decided to try a London University external degrees, passing the first stage material tick in the 1911. He is the first World War soldier in January 1970. Owen arrived on his western front at the northern end of the small sector. Most of his letters poems are based on the experience during the next 4 months about the First World War. During time, the condition were applying the bitter cold, insect rain, deep mud, obliterated trenches, constant shelling. His first was ordeal is described in his will letters and his later poem. The sanitary and the weather turned into the Senate forced. Eventually, after being blown into the air by a shell a shell while asleep and coming to among the scattered remain of the another officer, he was sent to a shell shock center. In the June is the Gallagher's Lockhart War Hospital near the Iniguers. One's poetry, pain and the theoretically are the often the twin contempts his own poetry in the many of the poems. The opening, like the often even the opening words, propel the body into the action. Is the poetry move him into the sun, cramped in that funeral hall. So Abraham rose and clove the woods and went. He dropped more surely that verily sit on the bed. I am blind and the three partial held it against the shade of the last hill. Similarly, in the tells the body of the already there, entering that poetic canvas in the middle. Some of his 1990 in the 1990 poems, Incivility, Strange Meetings, Spring of Niso, and the other are among the greatest poems about the war in the language. In the famous, in the most famous in all about the writer during about the World War is the poem is Dells at the Duclemis Est. One of the most famous of all war poems, in a probably the best known of the all, Wilfred Owen's poem. Death at Duclemis at was written in response at the geonetics for war various being written by the people like Janice Pope indeed Pope's that friend whom on address directly in the closing line of the poem. In the remain owns the best known poem or perhaps is the greatest statement about the war. In 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 the poem, the title of this poem, the poem by the British poet written Wilfred Owen, the did graft at the Cleric Lock Art, the Ware Hospital near the Inbrooks in the 1970. Owen had admitted to the hospital after suffering from the shell shock after a period to fighting in the battles of the Smos. At the hospital, he met the older poet Sigmund Sens, who had just published his book, The Old Humanist Man, in 1917. His direct, unflinching style allowed on to bring similar characteristic into his own work. The title is taken from a Latin text, repeated in full on the last line. The taken from the poet Horace is the means. It means it is a sweet and fitting to die on one's country. The statement which the one's experience and he proven to be an older lie. We and which the poem work is display, though vivid description of the realities to a trench warfare is about the poem. The famous poem is the war poem, which since the first during the First World War, he has come to the main anti-war poetry. That the image of the young man coughing up the lungs remains at the classic example of the war realization. In its full frontal shock value, yet to read the text as a history, as a transcript of trench horrors, is to ignore of the single capital as a poetry. Neither the transparent envelope, the trench experience, nor just language whispering to the its duels at the Dicrom Eds is the one was a primal moment in the history on not just English but the world poetry when lyric of the bears most fully the drama about the modern industrial warfare. In this the poem use of the theme is patriotism, various of the reality and suffering. Suffering is used in the theme in a sharp contract, the duels at the Dicrom at the he said the war revived body and the men against the abstract heroic of honor and the in the surfic Seraphic in the process, he plays the three sector experience night march, gas attack, and the traumatic neurosis, and almost a single veridical bodily acts the dress. He had a very pull of the brain. His the moves from the export feet in the first stanza and the export the nervous in the final one time. He held Spence as the one night march experience follow and the blush into the another until the final part of the poem. In the literary about night march, he tentative rhyme of the march give away to the dramatic uh, conclusion of the repeat. The first glance in the poem may seem to bear out the theme of possessive suffering, which led W.B. Yeats object the word poet and attack the own in particularly when Yeats with with NLG notes that somebody has put his roast and most famous poem in the glass case in the British Museum. The object of the dustbin may well be the manualist manual split of duels, but uh, any simple nation of the positively that ridiculously levels at owns, culminated in the poem not by the tragic joy that yet revealed, but by an altogether new kind of atheistic any empathy. This is my side.
Hello, Chanvi. I asked the question, what is the main message in poem Jules is the economist?
Again, unmute the mic. In the main message in this poem is the realistic war and the horrific and in horrific and in humans horrific in humans.
Yes, in the slide which you have mentioned the original poem, and in that you mentioned that the pro-war verses, and it was written by J.C. Pope. So I'm asking that can you explain what is pro-war poetry or verses, and how it differs from the form of war poetry?
uh, Different in the two the word poetry is like is in depend on the uh, lose of innocence yeah, word poetry depend in the emotions, feelings, lose of innocence uh, of the nature is all about the history of the First World War and I don't know the word poetry.